Yeah, man. I mean, like, I feel like the good for me that came from the pandemic is it allowed me to be a person in a position where I could, I got one foot in hip hop, I got one foot in medicine, right? So this kind of puts me in a unique position, is that I'm able to carry out the information that I learned from a doctor point of view and express it to my fellow hip hop artists. And I talk to Chuck D very regularly. He's executive producing my album. I talk to the Wu-Tang Clan. I talk to D12. I talk to Royce. I talk to Crooked. I talked to Black Thought. I was going FaceTime with LL Cool J. I was telling him what's going on. Redman, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of the guys who I grew up listening to, who I idolized, are now having, like you said, having peer-to-peer conversations with me and asking for medical advice. And, and the conversations go from medicine to hip hop and back and forth. And, I just think it's an amazing place for me to be, because I feel like I can contribute so much to others. Like, I could give people advice. I could, and it's motivational. It's inspiring to me, because when RZA calls me asking me what's going on with COVID and stuff, and I'm like, yo, RZA, man, throw me a beat, G. Throw me a beat. Let me rock on the RZA beat. But man, it's been blessed, man. I'm working on something with Ice Cube. I connected to Ice Cube through my producer Big Von, who got me a track with Redman. I got a track with Redman called Medical Marijuana. I actually talk about the medical benefits of CBD on that record, and Redman's on that one. And then I'm also working on trying to get something with Black Thought going, man. And I feel like he's one of my most esteemed lyricists for 2021 to go down. Me and Locksmith, it's another MC that I really look up to, man. And he's a peer of mine. Me and him, I got a close connection, and we got a track dropping in January of 2021. I don't want to talk too much about it, but all I gotta say is when that track comes out, I don't know what's gonna happen. We both came at our best on that track, and I can't wait for the world to hear that. Back and forth, no hook, back and forth, like, man, coming. Yeah, we go 8 bar. The way the song is structured, it goes 8 bar Locksmith, 8 bar Lazarus, 8 bar Locksmith, 8 bar Lazarus, 8 bar Locksmith, back and forth. We do it like 8 times back and forth, and every time we do it, we just keep leveling up. So I'm waiting for that day the hip hop community gets to hear that track, man. So wait, just like what we doing right now. This is what I've been doing with my artists. So what I hate, bro? I hate when somebody says, "Oh, let me send you a 16." You send me a 16 and we'll engineer somewhere else. We'll just put it together. I'm like, no, like for me, a collaboration is like, no, like this, like, if it's not in the flesh, it's like what we're doing right here. And this is kind of how we did it. We're literally like writing our rhymes to each, like, I'm like, I just spit this right there. And then, cause you're going to hear it on this song with me and Locksmith. Every rhyme, like if he does 8 bars, the last part of his 8 bars is what I start rhyming with. So we pass each other the grenade, and we're doing it live, like to the point where you can tell we was in there, we was together working on it. Well, it didn't sound like it was like, oh, he just did his part here and he did his part here. We literally like bonded on every pattern. But as far as production, how like a lot of artists get criticized for like beat selection, and they're like, oh, like I love this artist rhymes, but I don't like the way he select beats. I'm real particular about beats. Like, there's certain, like, when you hear that ill Premier beat, or when you hear that vintage prime RZA beat, or when you hear that Dr. Dre beat from the 2001 crime, that this beat right here is above and beyond like other stuff we just might just pass. Like there's a passing mark, and then there's a beat where like, oh my God, that's a knocker like this. And I don't know why it is, but I feel like a lot of artists, man, maybe they lose touch of that later on in their careers or something like that. Or maybe because it's a big producer who's behind it that they let it slide. But I'm a very particular, man. I'm particular when I rhyme in the studio about every word, the way it's landing on the beat. And I'm very particular about my production. Like if it's a beat that I don't agree with, or if it's a beat where I'm like I want to be able to listen to the track without any vocals and be like, yo, I'm going to listen to this track just because that beat is fire. So I want to get to that stage first. If I listen to the beat and the beat's not connected and I got to rhyme on it, I'm already discouraged to rhyme on it. Like I want to rhyme on it knowing that I didn't even rhyme for 20 seconds and people are already loving the beat. So, and I got an ear for that. So I feel privileged to have an ear for that, and I want to continue to always have good beat selection from my rhymes, and not just one type of beat. I like venturing into like listen to Trap City, listen to Medical Marijuana, listen to some of the other like Decapitation Chamber. They're all different lanes of beats, but they all work for their individual component. Now, speaking about Medical Marijuana, that song was actually made for Snoop Dogg, and that's why I sound like that. My producer, Big Von, and shout out to Big Von, he actually, that was one of the beats Snoop was working. Snoop was working on a track on that beat. And then me and Von hooked up, and he produces for Ice Cube as well. And then he was like, yo, I want to try to get this track with, he came up with the concept. He's like, yo, Snoop was seeing if you could do a record on here. He was showing Snoop some of my work about medical marijuana. And I was like, yeah, let's get it. So that's why even my flow is kind of a little Snoop inspired on that track. You know what I'm saying? So I put that record together for Snoop. And even at the end of it, when I'm like, here go the script for the D-O-double-G is what it was initially before I changed it. So that was what the initial plan was. But then I went to have a meeting with Snoop, and that was in January of this year. And it was the same day Kobe died. So that just took the vibration completely out of that situation because just before COVID. So Kobe died, and Snoop was just, I met Snoop at that time. We kicked it or whatever, and then we kind of had to put the record on the back burner for that time. And then COVID happened, and things just got complicated with COVID and everything. I hooked up with Redman while I was on tour with the Woo. I had connected with Redman a few times, and then me and Redman was DMing each other on Instagram. And Redman was like, yo, man, what you been working on? So I just showed him some stuff that I had in the vault, that I hadn't released. And then I just sent him my verse from the medical marijuana. And Redman was like, yo, let me do something on this. So that's when I made the decision, all right, let's get Redman to do a drop on here. Maybe later we'll do the remix with Snoop on there. So I was like, I wanted to get it out the can. I wanted to get it out there. So I was like, yeah, let's put the Redman drop on there and put it out.